Welcome to Sterling Visionary Voices, the podcast dedicated to bringing you diverse, innovative leadership insights and actionable strategies for success. Join hosts Laura McNeil and Bob Madeiros as they explore the art and science of role model leadership through thought-provoking conversations with real professionals. Whether you're a seasoned leader or aspiring to excellence, Sterling Visionary Voices is your guide to navigating the complexities of your leadership journey.
Hello and welcome to Sterling Visionary Voices. I'm your host, Bob Madeiros, and it's my pleasure to introduce our guest today, Nancy Millan. Ms. Millan is Hillsborough County's first female and Hispanic tax collector and was reelected in June 2024 for a second term. With a 35-year career at the tax collector's office, she's been instrumental in enhancing customer service, accessibility, and innovation. As tax collector, she oversees a team of 402 employees across 9 locations, serving 1.5 million residents with essential services like the issuance of driver's license, vehicle registrations, and property tax collection. Millan's leadership extends beyond her office. She was recently elected Secretary of Florida's Tax Collectors Association Executive Committee. Her community involvement is notable, having been recognized as Hillsborough County's Hispanic Woman of the Year and receiving multiple awards for her public service and leadership. A dedicated mother to her son Vinny, she's a proud Hillsborough County native committed to giving back to her community. Nancy, it is so nice to have you here on Sterling Visionary Voices.
Thank you, Bob, for having me. It's a pleasure.
Okay. Well, I'm really excited to hear more about your topic today, the influence of work culture on employee retention. You know, work culture is a very popular subject. I think in our library of Visionary Voices podcasts, we probably got 3 or 4 episodes around culture. So I'm really looking forward to this discussion. So to start off, let's dive right in. How would you define a thriving work culture, and what are some specific ways it impacts employee retention?
I believe that a thriving work culture is where people coming into work are proud of where they work. They know that they're making an impact in our community, and they have a sense of purpose in what they do. And it takes a lot of time and dedication. This did not happen overnight, Bob. I will tell you, I've been here 35 years, and I've been through the highs and the lows of the tax collector's office. And I knew, though, when I became tax collector, I knew that was the first thing that I wanted to work on is our culture. I wanted folks to feel proud of where they work, that, we spend a lot of time in the office together. So we want to make it a place where people enjoy coming in. They get a sense of pride, and that they're actually making an impact. And I think that we've worked really hard to get to that point where we're living and breathing our mission statement, and people get it, and it's happened organically. We're not, making people memorize a mission statement just for the sake of knowing it, but really living it. And even when no one's watching and doing the right thing, we've really taken a stance on integrating our mission, vision, and core values into everything we do. From the moment someone onboards into our office as a new hire, we make sure that people know they know me. I think being transparent, approachable, and having open conversation is part of it, and having the discipline to continue on. It's not a one and done where you give a presentation and then, okay, here we go. Everybody knows what to do. And that's why I say it's a lot of work. I actually went and we did a presentation this week, and we talked about that. This takes a lot of work, discipline, and repetitiveness and communication. I would tell you, I started when I got sworn in. We started immediately in January 2021, and actually now, and some odd year, almost 4 years later, is you feel it. You feel the vibe, the energy within our offices, um, the positive nature of everyone wanting to help. Um, they're re-energized and excited. They're open to, listen to something new, take some risks, but we also empower them to be creative and innovative of how can we do things better. And it's okay if we don't, hit it the first time around, but at least we are looking, listening, and learning from each other and trying to make improvements throughout the organization.
Well, very good. I was looking up recently. There was a May 2024 Gallup poll, and it said that 51% of employees are either actively looking for a new job or watching out for one to come along. And so I think your focus on culture towards employee retention is really prescient, I guess.
Yes, and we talk about pay, and it's not all about pay, right?
No.
We try to keep up with the market, and it's always important because we all have to survive and live, and with inflation and everything else, we want to make sure that we're giving our folks an opportunity, but um, giving them the opportunity to really know the importance of their job and how they contribute to the overall success of the organization is important, empowering and developing leaders. And we've really taken that to the next level in our organization, where, again, people are stepping up and they don't mind doing the extra works. They're happy to volunteer to work on a Saturday because they know, again, the importance and the impact that it has on our community. And I think that talks, to what we're saying now is having that positive culture, and not only just talking about it, but being that role model and example. So not only saying it, but actually being there with them, roll your sleeves up and show them that you're there with them and supporting them.
Well, that's interesting, because again, this podcast is by leaders about leadership for other
Mhm.
leaders. So what are some key elements that other leaders can focus on in order to cultivate that supportive work environment? And further, how can these elements be integrated into regular day-to-day operations?
Right. Um, you know, with your leaders and changing the culture starts at the top. And sometimes we get complacent. And so I said it earlier is that we have to be intentional in what we're doing. We have to have the discipline. We all get busy. We want to sit in that corner office and get caught up, right? But we have to make the time, and that's where the discipline comes in. I will tell you, it's been a struggle, but it starts with me and making sure that we are talking about these things. We are having conversations with our teams. For example, we'll have an engagement survey. And the engagement survey will tell you, hey, these are the things that, the that our staff feels great about. But then here's the other part where here's these top three things that are major concerns to those staff members, right? And how are we going to handle that? So, what the challenge we pose to every department director, every branch manager is let's look at those that we need to improve. Now, creating action items and talking and having conversations with your team to dive into what does this really mean? What is your pain point? And so I think when we have this dialogue in a safe place where folks feel they trust and they're able to speak, and then we create action items that really we all work together to make these changes together. That's where you get the buy-in. They have to feel like they're being listened to and that we're actually doing something about it, and if we can't, it's okay, but explain why we can't. And having the discipline to continue doing this, is where, it takes a lot, but I would tell you, If you stick to it and have the discipline to report on it, we actually so the team members and their managers have these meetings. They have activities. Every month we have a production meeting, and those managers have to report where they're at and what improvements have they made. They talk about celebrating. We want to recognize part of all of this journey is also recognition and making sure we celebrate those wins together and talk about them. Again, building those trust and relationships with your team members, where everybody then is on the same page, working towards the same goals.
I love it. And it's interesting because so many organizations may have an employee engagement survey, and then they just look at it and say, "Oh, look, I have a 4.8." So, and they don't convert that into action. And
Right.
it's great that you're taking the actions from what you learn in order to make it a better place.
Yes.
Excellent. So, so let me ask you this: what role do you feel communication and this feedback really play in fostering a positive work culture?
Oh,
And if I could follow
mhm.
up, how can these other organizations ensure that they're consistently meeting those employee needs?
Right. That's a
What are your
great
thoughts?
question. Communication is key. We hear that over and over again. Um, you have to over communicate, right? To ensure that people are truly getting the message of what you're saying and what we're doing. Uh, we use every mechanism there is to constantly communicate with our people. Um, and soliciting the feedback is important, but we want to know that we want to build that trust that we talked about, that when they give you feedback, that you're actually listening. And so what we've done, for instance, when we have our SWOT analysis, everybody is involved. Everybody gives feedback. And so once that is consolidated into one large list, we look at what are the pain points, what are people talking about. We come up with action items, we prioritize them, and then once we've come and we've done something about it, or it's in progress, or it creates a project, I talk to our people. We create videos. Obviously, I can't be at 9 locations and talk to everyone, but we create videos such as this. We do our state of the organization, where we talk about, hey, these are the things that you um, talked about, you had concerns with, or pain points in the workplace. And here's what we're doing. And I would tell you, through time, when you can start checking the boxes and they see that you're actually listening and making those changes, now you built trust. They feel like somebody's listening, and it's moving the needle. But again, I go back to, it really takes consistency. Over communicating and sharing and being transparent, I think, is important. um you can't, just like you said earlier, it's like you can't just have a SWOT, or you can't do these exercises and just put it on the shelf to collect dust. It does take work, and you have to allot specific time dedicated just to do this. And I will tell you, if you do that to any leader, I will tell you that you will see results. Not immediately; it doesn't happen overnight, and it's practice, practice, practice. You're and identifying those areas of improvement, and then talking about them and drilling down to see what the real problems are. And sometimes they sound worse than they really are. It's just a matter of communication, and not someone not knowing why we did something. Uh, it was that easy to solve. But again, having those conversations, having people feel a little uncomfortable at times, and getting out of that corner office and getting involved is so important. You cannot create a culture from the office looking at your computer. And I am a true advocate for this. I think you have to um, engage people. I think you have to have your leaders and managers be those influencers and advocates in those branches. But getting them to believe too is hard, and breaking those cycles of, this is the way it's always been, uh, is a challenge. But I guarantee you, Bob, if you're consistent and continue to practice, that you will see results. It doesn't happen overnight, but I can tell you it feels great when you start to see it organically happening and people are talking about it. It's like, okay, this is working. But it had been a challenge, and I would tell you sometimes I'm like, "Gosh, am I the only one?" I feel like, "Is anybody listening?" But I would tell you that, it's made a great impact in our office and with our employees, and when you walk around, they know our mission statement, they know what it means to them and how, they're helping folks, especially with, you imagine with a driver's license. I always tell them, if it's your grandma coming in and it took her forever just to get to the office, and then you have to say, "No, sorry, come back." No, you don't wanna be treated that way. If you go the extra mile, "Hey, let me give you some options of how you can get this, or let me help you." And so really personalizing our service and taking it to a personal level where, we're empowering our community one customer at a time is part of our mission statement. And so, they get it, and they see, what a difference it makes in people's lives. So I think that contributes to our culture and what we do.
Yeah, it sounds, listening to you talk about it, it's the personally rewarding to you when you actually see it working out there.
Indeed,
I
it
think,
really is. And when you hear, when you have happy employees, you're ultimately going to have happy customers. And
right.
the best reward for me is getting those reviews and getting the feedback that we get from our customers. The personal feedback that I get from friends texting me and saying, "I just left your office and it was great. And so was amazing." Um, Again, those are the things we work so hard for. And again, when putting the discipline and time and communicating, the message, over and over again, it really does pay off.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been to your facilities before, and one thing that pops out to me is how much you're reaching out and how easily you're making it for the customers to
Right.
give you feedback. So I think that's great.
Thank you. And
All
yes,
right.
and I have to brag just a little. I mean, because since we started in all of this journey, our Google reviews when I started were like at 2.7 in our branches. We again, which
You're talking
I
DMV, right?
know. I know. I mean, we have to, that stigma that we have to always overcome and the perception of what that office is like. But I would tell you, you currently go to see any of our offices, and we're all like at 4.5 and above with our ratings. That's, pretty impressive. And when folks are taking the time to leave a positive message about the DMV, which is the tax collector's office, it's
Right.
amazing. I mean, that to me says, okay, we're doing something right.
Well, let me digress just a teensy bit, to really ground us in where we are right now, in light of the recent hurricanes that have impacted your area
Yes.
so much. How do you see organizational culture kind of impacting that recovery and how you go on from there?
You know, we were closed for 5 days. Our first priority was ensuring that our staff was safe and, they were in a good spot and if they needed anything. So, that was the first priority. And once we got through that, it's like, okay, how can we, um there were so many that were impacted and, healthy, but, households, where homes were damaged with no electricity. So it's like, okay, how can we work together, to serve our community that needs us so desperately at this time, but also take into consideration our employees. And we were able to do that. We were flexible and agile. We opened 3 offices, and we just, wherever everybody was at, we said, okay, if you can come in, and we started to spread our, staff into these 3 main offices, and we all came together. We bought them lunch. We were out there with them. All of our directors and myself worked in those branches, as we reopened. And because, again, I think perception of, you're a leader and you have to be there with them, in order to for them to feel supported, and that you're there in the trenches with them, I think is important. It sends a loud message about our leadership team. We also, paid them while they were off on emergency leave. So again, we recognize, the importance and the priority of family and our staff, putting them number one. I think they feel it too. And so again, when you ask them to step up and go a little extra when in a case of an emergency like this, we had folks volunteering, Bob, and that is again, brings back to our culture and what we've done, in our organization, where people are willing to come together and work together for the good of something much greater.
I love it. Well, Nancy, I really do appreciate. I truly enjoyed our discussion today.
I do too.
I think
Thank you
it's
for having me.
well, it was definitely some. There's a lot that other leaders can apply, and that's what we really love when
Right.
we can share something that can help me as a leader do things a little bit better. So I really do appreciate all your sharing and your perspective on culture and how other leaders can really apply this in their own
Hmm.
organizations. So thank you very much,
Thank
Nancy.
you.
I appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you again at another
Yes,
conference or.
absolutely. Thank you for having me. And I will tell you, um, the Sterling model is something that I learned early on in my career, back in 2007 and 2008, when I was part of a team to help write. Um, and I was in a different role. I was actually the director of communications. But going through that taught me so much. And we ended up being Sterling winners in 2008. And that feeling of where our office and our culture was at that time made an impact on me. And then when I became tax collector, I knew that's where I wanted to be again. And that was my driving force, is like, I want to get there. I don't have to talk about Sterling. I don't have to talk about anything. We already have the foundation built of our Sterling model, but using that to really help drive where we're at today is, has been a valuable, lesson for me from early on, and to truly that it really works when you put it into places. Having the strong foundation like that, where you can really use your measures and your performance and everything, and integrate things of that nature, really does help bring your organization to a better place, and your employees and staff, great culture. And that's what I used. I knew what it felt like, and I wanted to get there again.
Oh, very good, very good. Well, again, thank you, Nancy. Well, that's all our time for today. I want to thank you all for joining us here at Sterling Visionary Voices. To hear other episodes, just go to sterlingvisionaryvoices.com. And until next time, thank you. This is Bob Madeiros and Nancy Millan.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Sterling Visionary Voices, Insights for Role Model Leadership from the Sterling Council. Discover more and connect with us at sterlingvisionaryvoices.com.